So sometimes people that have MSSPs, they don't have as much visibility as internal teams. And so you just have to take everything that I say and just apply it to your specific environment if you're interested in the idea. And then um, since I've only had one per se, like corporate America enterprise job, I've also over the past 5+ years talked with many software managers and other professionals in the industry. So everything I say, it does not necessarily like tie back to anything I'm doing particularly at my employer, but it's almost like a survey that I've been doing over the past umpteen years, talking to different peers at different organizations about what works and what doesn't for them. So a little bit about me. I grew up in two family-run and owned businesses, and I've ran my own business for about 15 years before joining the information security industry. I'm also a SANS Women's Academy graduate with 3 SANS certs. And what I'm doing is taking all of my business experience and applying it practically to CPI. And I leverage the idea of the 24/7 CPI program through inspiration from what other people are doing. And I've just kind of sprinkled in a lot of my business experience slash people expertise. And basically, before you embark on a 24/7 CTI project, just have the right mindset. That's all I can stress, just because it can get stressful at times. It's a long project. I know it sounds really simple, but there's a lot of intricacies involved with it. So having a can-do, I will accomplish anything and I will be determined, definitely helps if you're going to embark on this. So the agenda.
I'm sorry. I can barely hear you.
How's this? Is this better?
A little bit better, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to talk really quick about the benefits to a 24/7 CTI project, how to plan a little bit better for your project for smooth implementation, how to engage the project and make others' lives better, training the SOC, and finally, lessons learned. So is there a right way to do CPI? Not really. So, like I said, just my opinion. And as a wish list, of course, is top-down buy-in, having baked-in security, having someone on the board that can listen in the ears of the other executives, kind of changing the mindset of how people view security within your organization, actually a benefit and not a horrible thing. And then alignment of goals between the teams and alignment of the threat metrics. There's one thing I've learned in enterprise, there's a lot of threat metrics. So the other thing is, before you embark on this, just honestly, it's common sense. Like, get your management support, otherwise you will get fired. Make sure you have logs, make sure you have the communication channels, make sure you have the design that works, the report templates already, you have a TIP, threat intelligence platform, you already know where you're getting your logs from, logic, and you actually have a SOC. And so why is 24/7 bad? Basically, the bad guys are innovating all the time. So in order for the good guys to keep up with it, we also need to use what's at our disposal. What do we have at our disposal? A SOC. So with this stuff, I've heard people talk about alert fatigue, burnout, missing important indicators just because they see so much. So enriching the SOC with Tier 1 CPI duties helps decrease some of that from my perspective, and it also contributes to maturing this. So CTI Tier 1 coverage, when it goes 24/7, let's say you have a 40-hour per week CTI analyst like myself, and let's assume that I only work 40 hours a week, which hasn't happened since I was probably very young. That means that there is only approximately 160 hours per month that are covered as far as CTI related activities. If you have a 24/7 SOC and they decide to do CTI duties, that means that 627% or 627, hours a month are covered, potentially looking at emerging threats to your organization. So since executives like charts and graphs and all of that, so right now with me only working 40 hours a week, that's a 24% coverage and a 24/7, 365 business operation. And with 100% SOC, that would give you 100% coverage of CPI related issues. So right now, currently, if you only have a 40-hour per week job, CPI analyst, it's a 76 coverage. So let's say you like this idea that you're like, how do I even go about it? So here's a way that I found, and it is using a key success factor project plan. So what you want to do is plan, so you need your purpose, your goals, impact, responsibilities, contingencies, team engagement, project metrics, and quality control. Then we also have processes, so you want to create a workflow, know who to contact when, where, how, have a knowledge base, and have quality control again. And then you have people, and you want to make sure you have your inter-team collaboration set up. Ensure the CTI analysts that you have on board are like team players, so helpful. Or if you want them to be team players, just consider what you want and don't want in your current CTI analyst, and then quality control and power. So with power, you want to make sure there aren't too many cooks in the kitchen, because being told how to do something like 10 different ways from 10 different bosses. And then empowering the CTI analyst. So if you give them, I guess you could say, control over a project, or at least be the main point of contact, or be privy to the planning that's happening regarding rollout of different phases, they'll be more apt or in tune to kind of guide the conversations and guide the workflow, even if it means like carving out 2 hours for the people that actually do the work, so that they are able to get it done. CTI analyst on the team to field a lot of the questions. So that's great. Now what? So in my research, I came across something called the critical success factor theory. I took my business experience and applied it to CTI. So basically, to sum it up, it was by John F. Lockhart, an MIT lecturer. And to boil it down to its simple elements, it's taking the critical versus non-critical actions that are required for the project to be a success. So for your 20% CTI program to be a success. So in order to make that happen, like how do you translate that into CTI? Right? It's just a bunch of theories and ideas and concepts. Well, what I ended up doing is considering kind of like framing the whole project based around an attitude of customer service, and kind of taking the approach that everyone within my organization is a customer. So when you do that, it's a lot easier to kind of figure out how to do this. So you want to talk to the consumers of your CTI deliverables, and that could be using surveys, meetings, anything, and then also discussing feedback. So have those tough conversations of like what they like and don't like, and suggestions on how it can get better to build bridges between the teams and the organization. So what's a practical example of results from a critical success? So if you do this and you pile everything and you get the feedback from all the different teams, you come up with high-value CTI activities that will impact the success of it. So these are just arbitrary ones that I picked as a CTI analyst that I feel is important based upon getting feedback from everyone, but that's not necessarily what my organization does or what other organizations do. So it's determining emerging threats and impact to the company. You review the intel, so all of the intel feeds and whatever it is that you subscribe to, whether it's a ISAC or a private sharing group, you review that with respect to your environment, that's already vetted intel. And then inter-team collaboration and exploration of exploits in the wild, vendor and third-party vulnerability and compromise, and then report writing. And then, well, what do you do with the high-value CPI activities? So this is where it gets fun. So once you determine the high-value CTI activities, you break it down into Tier 1 task management, and then Tier 2, the slide is on Tier 1 task management, and you just have all of like the basic tasks that someone would perform as a Tier 1 CTI analyst that you feel are high-value CTI activities for your organization. And then, of course, having the shift turnover and assigning the duties to a democratic process, having the shared mailbox, and then the CTI Tier 2 plus, that's more of like the technical heavy hitters, but honestly, it really depends what's going on within the organization. So, you know, if your CTI analysts are more technical, then this would make sense for them to do advanced technical research and analysis. If not, then it would probably, I'm guessing, escalated to BFIR or hunted or other teams. So this is just an idea. And like I said, the slides will be available, so you don't have to like try to hurry and write all of this down. So what now? What now involves the workflow process. Sorry, is that slide? So if you want to have feedback for the IOCs that come into your environment or that go through, feedback, you want to have this up to the Tier 1 duties and Tier 1 research, then CPI handles those, makes block the strategies to DFIR, and then DFIR can submit stuff to CTR. CTI can look at what DFIR is doing, make sure there's the whole workflow process. So how do you implement this and do 24/7 CPI within the organization? So this is where training comes in, and you want to make sure you have the right mindset. Why do you care about something? Why do you not care about something as a CPI analyst? This will honestly probably take the most time and require the most hand-holding with this. And then, of course, the internal processes. So anything that you have down regarding how you do something in your CTI department, just share that with the staff. And then tools access, make sure they have access to everything that CTI analysts have from, on Twitter, I have a list of like researchers that I love following, so I'll share that with us all. RSS feeds, having that set up already with the order of importance of like what to look through. And, of course, CTI isn't all about just looking at the Twitters, so there's more to it. And then including them in the collaboration spaces and communication channels. Make sure they have access to the info and all the needs, and then feedback not only on the process, but also on the deliverables of the CTI process and consumers of the data. So is there anything else that you should be aware of? Yes, so implementing a 24/7 CTI project, I highly recommend breaking down this project. If you want to implement them with the 24/7 CTI to make it easier for team collaboration, like I would highly recommend breaking that into separate projects and just getting really clear on the different deadlines and how long it's going to take. Do you need to do a reorg? Do you need a manager? Do you need more personnel? Do you have all the tools and instrumentation and feeds that you need? Do you have to custom code a workaround? And then, of course, documentation and the process support vendor SLA. So for 27 CTI ideas for success, in my personal opinion, it's great to celebrate milestones, especially with really long projects. You can leverage your vendors, for instance, asking them to make a custom API script to interface with their platform. Track your progress. It's nice to have pretty charts and graphs sometimes, especially for the visual folks in your organization, and then just in common sense. Do you need to put a ton of projects together in one, or can you break them out so that you can feel like you have some success? So how can I say yes? Project metrics, risk analysis, so doing a SWOT analysis as well, comparing the SOC having access to highly sensitive threat intel compared to the decrease in risk exposure for having a 24/7 CPI program. And when I said a comparison report, it was more the work that is currently completed by your 40-hour CPI team in comparison to what can be completed with the 24/7 CTI operation leveraging your SOC. So I also said in the abstract about lessons learned, so I'll share really quick. So back in 2006, I was involved with managing software development for a mortgage company. As a sales manager, doing this live as an assistant. But basically, I learned from doing that I have to check all the code that is done and double check and triple check, quality control, all the things. And just making sure you have the same mindset for those tier 2 CPI team. Make sure that they're both working together and not speaking over. Just dealing with dominant personalities, I guess, for lack of a better word, like making sure that that's like taken care of, or like collaboration is working well. And project mapping, sequence, set, body, and then break it into chunks and diversity of thought. I don't have the diversity of thought for group. One of our CPI program improvements was that at DOJ and that you dropped, and it was like 8 p.m. And I had already worked like 60 plus hours. So leveraging the SOC to kind of review the IOPS within the event and see if there is any badness, and then performing the initial analysis was super helpful. So that way I could come and just look at it. So there's benefits to 24/7 CPI. It's good. Try to do it if you can. Of course, utilizing the project plan, any project plan, encouraging use, it's just helpful. And then really getting feedback from your stakeholders and your consumers of your CPI deliverables will help your project. Training methodologies, and of course, lessons. So credits, thank you to all of these people. And that's me. So all of that stuff. And I'm done. Feel free to reach out to me on the Twitters. Cheerio. My name is Xena Olsen. I will be at RSA. Feel free to hit me up. I'm always available for questions if you have any, if you need a brainstorm. I love talking about this stuff. I can't help it. So thank you so much, and I'll hand this off to whomever I need to hand it off to. Thank you.